I'm going to play a video for you of I'm calling him a patriotic Republican. Now, the word patriotic has taken on connotations and denotations, depending on who you ask. For decades, and I write about this actually in my forthcoming book, for decades, Republicans have attempted to sort of monopolize the term patriotism. And they've defined implicitly and explicitly patriotism in a way that doesn't make much sense to me. Patriotism to many of these Republicans means wanting things to be the way they used to be just because that's the way they used to be, not because it was better. Patriotism means you never question what the military does, except when it's inconvenient, which of course is the name of the game with Trump. Patriotism means putting other countries down. It's not a form of patriotism that resonates with me. But I have a video here of a Republican that I do think meets a higher standard of patriotism, who says, you know, there's partisan stuff, there's partisan leanings and opinions, but we have a situation so unique here in terms of the precipice upon which we find ourselves as we vote in this November election, where I have to do the right thing, says the Republican, for my country, based on what the country is actually supposed to be. He says it better than I could. So let's take a listen. A Republican that I think it really does actually meet a standard of patriotism that is logical.
What pushed you from writing to actually voting for the Democratic candidate?
I think we have an obligation as Republicans to also embrace any economic plan that does the most good for the most number of people. Just Saturday night, I was spending a lot of time with my favorite economist in the world who lives in Memphis, Tennessee. He has access to hundreds of economists, and they are in widespread agreement that her plan will do a much better job protecting 95% of all U.S. citizens. That matters to me as a Republican. I think it should. That's not to disparage. We want success. We want more Elon Musks. We want more Mark Zuckerbergs and Jeff Bezos. Individuals. We want to breed and incentivize that success through our economy. But we already do. I mean, that's not lacking. We are the most dynamic, creative entity in the world. The other thing is, I want to see all Republican leaders start appreciating the greatness of what we have. There's no room for any Republican leader. I'm not referring merely to former President Trump, but let's celebrate and love and cherish all of humanity. When you denigrate one American for any reason, you're denigrating all of America, because if you denigrate someone who has a disability, America loves and appreciates individuals with disabilities. You denigrate somebody in Detroit, Michigan by talking about what a lousy city Detroit is. Come on, he knows better than that. You're not only denigrating Detroit, you're denigrating Michigan and our country. I live in Birmingham. I don't want to see Detroit put down. I don't want to see Milwaukee put down. I would love to see a return to not just civility, but more than civility, embracing everybody and not treating anybody as a child of a lesser God.
You know, what he says, we want more Elon Musks. I mean, listen, we want innovators. Politically, Elon Musk has gone completely off the rails. So I guess which side of Elon Musk is he referring to? But it's hard to take issue with much of what he says. And my reaction when I saw this, I mean, I believe him. He's a Republican. He's a lifelong Republican. But what has happened to the Republican Party over the last 8 to 10 years is so extreme that when you hear this guy talk, anybody who's been paying attention would say there is simply no room for this view in the Republican Party. What has happened to the Republican Party is such that if you didn't know this guy was a Republican and you just heard that, you would say, oh, he's a Democrat of a particular generation. And that's exactly what we would expect. We would say this is obviously someone who has no room in the Republican Party. And yet, I mean, at some point he probably did. His views do seem, I mean, listen, I'm not celebrating Reagan, but some of what he says about immigrants actually does mirror to some degree some of the things that Reagan said about immigrants, which would be completely out of step with this Republican Party. Or George H.W. Bush, when the Republican Party was different, more like Reagan than Trump and Bush 2 for sure. This is something that you just don't expect to see in the Republican Party anymore. And the proof is in the pudding in that he's been pushed out, at least as far as voting in November. Now, for Republicans in the audience who hear this and say, kind of resonates with me, but just culturally, my environment, where I live, my family, you can make the right choice. And if you don't want to tell your family members how you voted, you don't have to tell them. They're not going to find out. As Liz Cheney pointed out, it's not public. You don't have to tell your coworkers or your spouse or your family or your friends. If you are going to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to bow to the peer pressure. I'm just going to do the right thing in November. They don't have to know. They don't have to know. Now, if they ask you whether you lie, that's up to you. I'm not sure. I'm not going to advise you on that. Without romanticizing the Republican Party of 30 years ago, because that's not what I want to do, if the debates today were less about should the person who wins the election become president, like that's a debate we're having. Some Trumpists go, actually, Trump should become president no matter who wins. Okay, that's a debate right now. If the debates we were having went back to when Republicans were more like this guy than like Trump, we would still disagree with them on a lot of things. And we would be fighting for what we believe is right. But we would be dealing with people that are at least not completely out of their gourd and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Does that happen? Does the Republican Party go back to that in 2028 if Kamala Harris wins in November and finally puts Trumpism in the dustbin of history, right? As Ron DeSanctimonious would say. Do they go back to that in 4 years if Trump loses? I don't know. But I can assure you they don't go back to that in 4 years if Trump wins. From Saudi blood money to shady crypto schemes, we shouldn't overlook any of Trump's scandals. Trump barely understands the concept of crypto himself, in the past having called it a scam. And now Trump conveniently found his way into one of the least regulated markets on the planet. Using the platform Ground News, I can see even Fox News isn't sold on this. Their headline says, Trump crypto venture unveiling stirs skepticism. Our longtime sponsor, Ground News, compiles news sources for each story into one place, so you can make up your own mind instead of being limited by the loudest and most biased opinions around you. Ground News breaks down the ownership and biases influencing each source's reporting, so you can sort out for yourself what the truth is. So while Trump's fans keep rallying around the idea that he's a self-made billionaire with America's best interests at heart, you can follow Trump on Ground News and see all the ways that his family exploits public office for personal gain. Go to ground.news/Pacman now to get 40% off the same unlimited access Vantage plan that I use. The link is in the description.